When I first built this lathe, I made a video of its construction, and then I made another video where I changed a whole bunch of things to improve on this lathe. In this video, I edited it together to make it look like I built it right in the first place, though there will be some discontinuities because there will be, for instance, the motor mount there before I actually built it for some parts. But if you want to build this lathe, this is the video to watch. And if you are building this lathe, you might want to buy my plans, which have got detailed drawings and dimensions for everything. I printed out the end profile one-to-one using my big print program. The bed of the lathe is going to be these two pieces of hardwood, and then the headstock is going to be these pieces like this, and the shaft is going to mount on wooden bearings on top, and then the tailstock is going to go together almost the same way. For gluing the headstock together, I scraped off any varnish off this used plywood where I'm going to glue it, and I also made some spacers to hold the middle part at the right height. And I almost forgot to drill a hole right here. I'm squaring up a hole for a carriage bolt, which will be for holding the headstock on. And now to make the bearing blocks. First I drilled the screw holes for mounting it, then I cut the block in half, and then I clamped it back together, and then I drilled a hole through it. I round the corners a bit on the belt sander just to save my knuckles on it later. Instead of having wood screws here, I'm going to use some hanger bolts which screw into here, and they have a machine screw thread up here which doesn't wear out. Now if you don't have hanger bolts like this, you can just use pieces of threaded rod and just make sure it's a tight fit and screw that straight in there. Add a bit of wood glue and that gives you plenty of hold. So I want to put this on here as a pulley, but I really should have a bit more thickness, so I thought, why not just add another step pulley here? I drilled the holes slightly undersized, but to make sure these won't spin on the shaft, I'm going to cut a keyway right here. I'm using a nail as a key to keep the pulley from slipping on the shaft. I just realized I forgot to put glue between those two discs, so I pried them apart again, and now just putting the glue in there. I still need to keep the shaft from sliding side to side. This shaft can just go back and forth. And that's what this block on here is for, to lock it in place. That's a much better point. Now I need a way to spin a workpiece that's up against this point here. So my thinking is to put a wooden sleeve on there and some screws in on the edges to have some prongs here. So these two washers here are going to act as a thrust bearing, and I have to put those on now because this part is not going to come off. I've got the hole lined up close enough I can see through it, so I should be able to just drive this nail in there. I drilled the hole in the bearing blocks a little large so I have some wiggle room. So I'll have to sand the top block to tighten that up. So I'm going to use my lathe to spin up this shaft, and I made a sacrificial bearing block here because the threads are just going to chew it up. And then this needs to attach on here, and I've made an adapter that goes on here and fits on here. I needed a tool rest for my angle grinder. I made these blocks for a tight fit on the 12mm shaft. So my 1/2 inch shaft is actually 12.7mm, which means that makes for an interference fit. But I just cut a keyway into here, and I'll use that to kind of grind a thread into the blocks. This little screw will act as a key to lock the wheel in place. With the workpiece spinning against this screw may gradually undo itself, so a wing nut or any sort of nut in here can lock that. Now I just need some kind of a tool rest. So I'm figuring a board in here, and then a block that attaches here, and then this goes on here, and a metal strip in here to protect it against the chisels. So the nut is tight in this orientation, so I'll just mark so that I can then put the lever on like so. I need to make a better way to mount that motor. Now I need to join these things to the back of the lathe, but I also need to be able to move it like this if I use different steps on the pulley. And I figure if I just join them in here into a board like that, and that gets screwed on here. The best way to join these pieces onto here, of course, is with a mortise and tenon joint. So I just kind of cut an open mortise with a table saw, and then these go in here. And then to close off the middle, I've got another piece, which I've made a little bit bigger, and I figure then I might as well glue another piece on here, and that'll make it really solid. After I finished building the lathe, I painted it green, and I also made this 4-jaw chuck and the faceplate. And to get to the faceplate, you just swap this thing backwards to get the faceplate here. And to switch back to spindle turning, you just swap out the whole drive shaft.